My name's Adam.
I'm Jason.
And don't look over here, just move along. Okay, so yeah, I'm back to record an intro. It's me, Snorre. Woohoo!
Woohoo! There's like four
Nice.
people on this episode. This is great.
Yeah,
Yeah. And all the extra personalities that each one of us possess.
yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, those guys too. Yeah, duh. So thanks for joining us, everyone. This is an exciting episode because we have a bit to talk about in the intro here regarding the future forward momentum of Masters of the Forge. So it's been kind of tough. Like, I think some of our best episodes are the ones that are cohesive and have a lot of interesting things to say and do regarding the topic at hand. And some of our worst episodes are ones that are a little bit forced and where sometimes the On Your Tabletop section really doesn't gel very well. And I think it's because we try to keep one topic per episode. And if we have a weak episode, it's generally because it's forced. So, and also, we usually have several sessions. We have a session every week of recording, and we're doing that anyways. But it's for 2 weeks every one episode. So what we're thinking about trying out here is going to a one episode a week format with a much more abbreviated intro. Clearly, because we won't be up to as much anyways because it's only a week.
Does that mean that Jason Mullins might actually start listening to our intros?
Maybe it would. It might not even be worth fast forwarding. Exactly. So there'll be an abbreviated intro and a very abbreviated outro. Like, I'm actually thinking about scripting the outro, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And each episode will have like the tagline of the type of topic. So, for example, our Adeptus Mechanicus episodes would have been like. So that would have been like 6 episodes, and each one would have been like, it would have been maybe like Dark Mechanicus in the lore, and that would have been an episode.
Ah.
And then there would be like Dark Mechanicus on your tabletop. People not interested in the game rules and stuff that we do, they would know that there's no point for them to listen to that content if they don't want to. And so this lets people who and also for example, we have content that is like our campaigns that we come up with. If folks aren't interested in that part of, the show, they don't have to listen to it. Like the radio drama, well, more like audio, like short stories that I create for my campaign. And if they're not interested in that, they don't have to listen to it because it'll have the tagline of what kind of episode it is. So I think, and so we're going to try to keep at least 2 episodes a month as in the lore episodes, either a novel or a topic. That way, at least half of our episodes are pure lore, and then the other 2 might be lore, but they also might be on your tabletop, like missions and or discussion on our narrative games. So I think that should be fun. We're gonna at least give it a try for a month or 2, and hopefully it'll work. We're planning on just recording once a week still. It'll just be we'll have an extra release, which for the most part should mainly, the extra work should mainly fall on my shoulders because I'm the one who usually does the publishing side of things. It's just Jason will have an extra bounce every 2 weeks and maybe a little bit of extra intro to edit. But we're going to try to keep time down to about an hour and maybe anywhere between 50 minutes and an hour and 15 minutes, something like that for each meat of every episode.
So basically what Adam is saying is that we're kind of going back to the format I imagined we would do before we started this podcast, because I was kind of hoping that we could keep it to 90 minutes per show every other week.
Yeah, sort of, except it'll be every week.
Exactly. So it will be even even a little bit shorter, but weekly. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Things have
Yeah, I
changed
hope-
for the better while I was gone.
So again, like if, and that'll also help for co-hostings. It might make it easier to do some co-hostings because a lot of our guest hosts would not be interested in introducing new rules and stuff, but they would be interested in talking about the lore. So I think that'll also help to get content experts on the show to talk about a specific topic. So there's also that, kind of like we did today with James Stagg, and this is going to be the first episode of that kind of methodology. This episode will be a little bit longer because the intro will be longer because we have a lot to talk about over the past 2 weeks. But from now on, it'll only be a week worth of recap and discussion for the intros. Another thing you've probably noticed by now is that we are releasing on Sundays instead. It was kind of eating into work time. Like sometimes I would have to help put out a fire or release an episode, and that meant I had to work later at my job because I spent time doing stuff for the episode, and I don't want to do that. So instead, we're going to be releasing on Sundays. Plus, I think that'll help you too, Jason, right? Like, the Sunday release would be a little bit easier for you.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too difficult. I mean, going through and having an hour and 15-minute bounce is a lot easier to schedule than a 2.5-hour one, because that basically takes my computer offline. Or not offline, but I can't use the computer in that time.
Right. So again, we're going to be switching to Sundays, and we've given ourselves an additional 3 days, basically, this week to wrap this up and maybe get a recording in for the episode after this one.
Yeah.
The other announcement I have is that we are definitely going to be joining the Freebooted Network. We're not moving the entire show to the Freebooted Network. We're going to be releasing one of the 4 episodes that we release in a month on the Freebooted Network. I haven't discussed with Terrace whether it was going to be exclusive or not. It might be, but all you have to do is you just have to subscribe to the Freebooted Network and you'll get all 4 episodes anyway, so it's not that big a deal. It's going to be called Masters of the Forge, Altar of War. And that's going to be us. Every episode is going to be us talking about a narrative game that we had. So whether that is one of Snorri's group, one of our group, or even another group, we're going to discuss the game we played or the mission that we created, and talk about the narrative gameplay that came out of it. A lot of the time it's going to be us kind of reviewing and critiquing 1 or 2 Altar of War missions produced by Games Workshop. I know Jason and one of our other buddies from the store, Bill, they're going through the Kalyan book, and so it'll be interesting to hear maybe about that in a few episodes. I'm doing my campaign. We can talk about my campaign, all sorts of things. So that's basically going to be kind of like an offshoot of Masters of the Forge. So it'll be 3 episodes of regular Masters of the Forge a month, and then 1 episode of Masters of the Forge Altar of War every month. We're in good company. There are great podcasts over there right now, including our buddies at the It Will Not Die podcast. And they're actually getting like exclusive content from Games Workshop about Age of Sigmar and stuff like that. So it's very exciting what's happening over at the Freebooted Network. And I don't know, I think I speak for all of us when I say I think it's pretty exciting stuff. We're keeping real busy.
Yeah, and
Yep.
it really has been a a nice platform for people to do slightly different things than what they're already doing with their own podcast, like independent characters.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. It gives them an opportunity to just we're kind of doing the independent characters are just, they're kind of keeping it fast and loose, whereas we're like, okay, this is we're gonna double down and do something even more structured than we usually do, which but it's the same concept, right? It's trying to do something a little bit different than what we're used to.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing. I'm gonna talk to Terrace about whether we're gonna simulcast or whatever. But I kind of want people to go ahead and subscribe to the Freebooted Network, even if it's not just to listen to an additional episode of Masters of the Forge every month, because there are some great people over there, and they deserve to be heard. So that was a lot of talking from me. Jason, can you go first, actually, and talk about your hobby progress and past couple weeks for you, and then I'll jump in with what I've been up to.
Yeah, that'll work. All right, so a couple of things. We can look at both games played and hobby progress. So we had a tournament a couple of weeks ago since we've last recorded, and I haven't been on the podcast long, so people don't realize that I typically don't really enjoy tournaments too much. Too many games in too short of a time, and that's just kind of not what I like to do.
But never underestimate my ability to make my friends feel guilty.
Yeah, well, we won't go there.
Jason, are you also the kind of person that really hates all the beat-faced lists that show up at tournaments that kind of ruin your enjoyment of it?
Yeah, they kind of annoy me, but in their defense or whatever, one of my friends, Bill, does like to play beat-faced lists. So I can either run a really nice list, or I can run a list that will basically smash you in the face with a sock of quarters. I mean, I can do either one. I prefer for things to be mellow, but, I'll play what every game is given to me. I prefer narrative, personally, because that's more fun. And I've been known to bring some pretty nasty lists to narrative just because, as a Blood Ravens player, I want that relic. It's mine. No one else's. It's mine. We're going to put the Blood Raven sticker on it. It'll be lovely.
Just admit it. It's the Blood Magpies.
Yeah, Bloody Magpies. That's them. Yep. I love 1D4 Chan. All right, so played 4 games and part of the tournament, but instead of playing solo, which I don't particularly enjoy in the tournament setting, I played a team game with our friend of the show, Malahat Mike, who came in from Canada, which was nice. So we played 4 games. The first game, it was okay. It was a beat-faced list. I didn't enjoy that one that much. Second game, we played Pete, one of our locals, and his Flying Tyrant list, which I've only played against Pete one time before this. I played against the Tyrant list, so I had an idea of what would happen. The MVP of the game, I won't go through it blow by blow, but the MVP of the game was my Imperial Space Marine. For those of you Adam is laughing for a reason. For those of you not familiar with his rule set, he has a disintegrator weapon that's rapid fire and gets hot. And the Warlord, the Flying Tyrant Warlord, happened to get about 6 inches away from the Imperial Space Marine and flying, so threw the dice, rolled 2 6s. I looked at them and went, oh no. And I said, okay, well, hold on. 5s to wound. Rolled it again, had a 6 and a 1. And I looked at Pete, our buddy, good friend, and said, you're jinking, right? Tell me you're jinking because I don't want this karma to hit me. He failed his jink save.
Oh, no!
Now, let me back up here. I have played that model in 8 games. It has done nothing at all. I think it killed an orc or 2, and then Adam ran over it like a freight train. So it finally earned its points. Finally. So that was game 2. Game 3 was against one of our other friends of the show, Nick. in his chaos list, and he brought a brass scorpion of corn, and I have never seen one on the table. I had no idea what I was up against. The game basically ended in turn 6, I think, or turn 7. We had one Space Marine left who was running for the board edge. So he didn't sweep us, he didn't table us, but he came really close. It was Brass Scorpion, all Mauler Fiends, a bunch of them.
It's just a bunch of giant, stompy, evil robots of chaos.
But
two cultist squads.
Doesn't the rule set say that any fleeing model at the end of the game is considered destroyed? So technically, you were swept.
No, I was still on the board. Wait, hold on. I don't know if I lost some morale check, but I was definitely getting away from that.
Okay.
Brass Scorpion.
You were just running away.
Yeah.
Tactically, what was it?
Tactical retreat.
Yeah.
Buggering off.
Tactical redeployment backwards.
Yes.
Exactly. That was the game. I was just trying to get away from him as quickly as possible.
And that's where we saw how much of a bottleneck that chaos table can be.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's
yeah, that we have some, what is it, the chaos, what is it called? The Fortress of something?
I don't know, it's all spikes and sharp angles. So
people were cutting themselves on it all weekend or all day. It was great.
It should all be dedicated to corn because I left blood in that middle box or that middle building because we got the relic. And so that one was right in the middle. I'm like, great, I have to put my relic in the middle of all of that. And I almost physically couldn't get my hand in there.
And the Brass Scorpion was having a hard time getting in between the buildings, too.
Yeah, he got locked over into that one area. He could not go through one section, I think, because he was too wide.
He was playing peekaboo then.
Pretty much.
I mean, he could have just walked over the terrain and just like made difficult terrain checks.
Yeah.
And that would have been great for pictures, taking pictures of the Brass Scorpion crawling over it like King Kong climbing the Empire State Building.
Oh, he ate Dante. He just
nice.
I think he beat him. Like, I think Dante ran away with one wound. And then some hounds that Nick had brought in had summoned took Dante out.
Nice.
So
yeah, like this tournament was originally a long time ago was a
team tournament.
Even before that, it was an Apocalypse game. Then we're like, Apocalypse is exhausting. Let's make it a team tournament. Then we couldn't agree over how to handle the teams. And I'm like, screw it, we're just doing ITC. But you guys decided, hey, you know what, we're still going to be teams. I'm like, that's fine, I don't care. Nobody cares. If anybody cares, they can come talk to me, because no one should care. And so I hope that made it a bit more fun for you guys.
Yeah. Then we had...
Go ahead.
Well, we had one last game that I'm not going to talk about much because it was really kind of sad. We played Matt, and he brought deep striking Grey Knight Terminators. I had Grav. And he brought 2 Dread Knights. We both could null deploy. I brought I was a bad person, and I brought Skyhammer with Grav, and I split them into combat squads. And I didn't come until second turn, and at the end of our game turn, he had a Librarian left and 1 Terminator out of almost his entire army. He still had 1 Terminator squad in reserve that didn't come in, and he conceded because I had wiped out the entire board with Grav. It was...
that Grav is rough.
God, it is rough. And I mean, I don't play Terminators because I don't like the way the models look. They're just, the 40K ones I don't particularly like. But after seeing that, I was like, I don't want anything to do with Terminators. Nothing at all. At all.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
All right, and then last night, we'll finish my games played in a second. I played Pete again. Pete's been playing Tyranids. He's now switching over to Astral Claws that he picked up from Justin from the Even Not Die podcast. And so Pete's a really great painter, and so he's been working on these astral claws for a little bit, and they're beautiful. They're perfect. I love them, and it was his first game playing Space Marines, so we went through and he played the same list, and I brought a couple of different lists so he could get some ideas on how things work and how they don't. What works well. So there's the games played. Let's see, hobby. All right, we'll go through this as quick as possible. For the tournament, I built 2 rooms and corridors for my Space Hulk board. Dry brushing with a train brush, that's what you have to do. If you're doing something big, if you don't have an airbrush, just grab an 1.5-inch hobby brush or whatever that's about 1.5 inches wide and just dry brush. It's quick. Mm-hmm. I built and painted a Storm Talon that I actually got at the tournament afterwards. My Gorka Morka bikes are painted. They are more than 3 colors, so it's kind of tabletop. But orcs have so many details. So many details that I may never finish them. Or at least I won't be able to get them up to the detail I'd want because some of those details are really deep in the model and they're already, assembled. Let's see. I built a new captain, and this one has a power maul and a shield because I need to replace my old power sword captain because in a game versus Adam, he couldn't do anything in close combat versus the orcs.
So he's going to be your orc fighter.
Pretty
You're
much.
You're going to bring him in as a ringer in the next campaign game.
He might be.
That would be awesome, dude.
Well, in that last game we did, you locked me up with everything. Like I think I went 2 whole turns. Everything else was dead except for the captain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I think a power maul will actually be a good, and it's a campaign game, so we don't really care about a little bit of list tailoring.
Yeah.
The past 2 games have been like, oh, by the way, no whirlwinds in this.
Yeah. No whirlwinds. No this. No that. I'm like, great. No artillery.
It's just no whirlwinds. That's all I asked. It's the only request I had. Please, for the love of God, no whirlwinds.
And one last thing, and then I'll be done with the hobby. I built 3 missile launcher power armor guys from the Calth box. I normally don't use missile launchers, but they look so cool. I could not leave them in my bits box. I just had to build them with, other stuff in the box.
Very cool, dude. Very cool. You always have so much. This intro is going to be super long.
It is.
Everybody has so much hobby progress.
That's a good thing.
Okay, so I'll go. So you're the vanilla ice cream to the intro.
Who is?
I am the hot fudge. I mean, and clearly, duh, right? So, I the past couple of weeks I've been on a couple of podcasts. I don't think either of the episodes have been released yet, or they will soon, so they might be by the time this releases. I was on the It Will Not Die podcast talking about getting armies painted. So I believe it's myself, it's Brian from Splittermine, and myself talking about with the regulars, Tim and Justin, talking about how to get armies painted, not just like simple painting tips, not just like how to paint an army. It's like finishing your damn army, getting it done. And I was on Life After the Cover Save to talk about in greater detail the trip to England. So we talked a little bit about it here on this show, but I kept it shorter and more succinct. On their show, I go into more detail. So they've been going over with a lot of the other guests, and it's been fun to listen to their experiences, and it'll inspire you guys to want to do it yourselves. It was a pretty good time, and I love being on their show because I get to swear and be crude and say the C word or whatever if I want to, and the F word, and it's a lot of fun. So I've been putting a lot of effort into getting our On Your Tabletop publications better formatted. right now it's by episode, and I'm condensing them down and by topic, which I did discuss that last time, but it's a constant process. I'm done with all the campaigny stuff and missiony stuff. Now I'm slowly working my way through other rules like Adeptus Astartes special rules and like environmental effects and stuff like that. So that I'm hoping that should be done in the next couple of weeks, and I'll post those. So whenever we have new rules, they'll be put into those publications and in their appropriate sections, and we'll link to those in those episodes. Unfortunately, part of this is also going back to the old show notes and fixing all the links. So that'll so we'll see how that goes. As Jason just mentioned, we did a tournament here, an ITC tournament, and again, our terrain is looking amazing. If you come to one of our tournaments, we have tons of fat mats, and all of our tables are themed now. We're working on getting more fat mats, thanks to Doug from Table War for donating some more fat mats to us. So that's going to help us out a whole lot in the future as we do more events, both narrative and competitive. I'm not sure when the next tournament is going to be. I kind of need at least like 4 months to recover. I'm really tired right now. I'm a little burnt out from doing this stuff, so I'm gonna give it at least until the fall before we do anything else. But during the summer, we're doing a league. If anybody in the area is interested in some fun team games, we're doing a team escalation league. You can build whatever kind of list you want as long as it's battle forged. In the early stages, we're letting folks use like allied detachments to be considered battle forged. Starts off at 500 points, goes up to 750 points, then 1,000. Then at the end, we're gonna have 2 weeks of 1250. So those team games will be very large, sitting at 2,500 point team games. I guess that would be. So hopefully lots of fun. Hopefully lots of hobby progress. We're doing extra points for buying stuff at the store. I hope folks don't mind that. They don't seem to mind it. I mean, and there's extra points for getting stuff painted and extra points. I mean, clearly you get points for playing. I originally had a point for winning a game every week. We switched it to, I forgot whose idea it was originally to just give away points, but the way it ended up working out was everybody gets an extra point when they play, and they're allowed to give it away to anyone else they want for whatever reason they want. So we're doing them with stickers. So you get a sticker, and if for example it doesn't even have to be somebody you're playing against or with. So you could say, okay, I'm giving my teammate my sticker because they were such a fun teammate. I'm going to give my opponent a sticker because he whooped my ass. I'm going to give this person over here in this other game a sticker because they painted this huge unit of like 30 orcs or whatever. Whatever you want, you can give away that extra sticker. And then at the end of the league, everybody gets one chance in a drawing for each sticker that they have, and then we just draw random prizes at the end. So that should be fun. If anybody wants to sponsor it and add extra prizes to the drawing, please feel free to contact us, and we'll be sure to mention it on the show. What else? I'm still painting my 1,000 points for June. June's just started, but I started my June challenge a couple weeks ago. I painted them while camping last weekend. I had a nice time hanging out with the wife and some of her work friends at the campground, and I did some painting there, a couple hours each day. I've also been watching the mini wargaming Gorka Morka campaign while painting. That's been a whole lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. It's getting me geared up. I don't know when everybody keeps asking, when are we going to do Gorka Morka? Everybody's kind of working on their warbands. I have plenty of models. I don't need to paint anything for Gorka Morka. Right? It's like, seriously, that is not a problem I'm going to have. I'm probably going to do Diggas, actually, for Gorka Morka. I have the book, so I might as well do it. Thanks, Gav Thorpe. Hashtag that Gav Thorpe is awesome. So they're looking pretty cool. I mean, a lot of people will recognize their school colors because it's blue and yellow, like a goldish yellow. So I think a lot of schools have that as their colors, actually. But yeah, I really like the way they're turning out. What else? Okay, so I bought. When I was at the game store, I took some of the money that I got from selling my Space Marines, and I bought one of the new Knight Renegade kits. So now I'm up to 4 Knights, and I've been planning my paint scheme. I'm not going to do Hawk Shroud anymore. I'm going to do my own custom Knight House. Using the scheme that I did for the Black Knights, the Grey Knights I painted as a commission a while back. So those are like the bolt gun metal undercarriage and metal parts with black paneling and the sickly green flames as the accent color, like kind of wreathed around a black dragon. That's like shooting the flames out. So any of the power weapons or like lenses or any kind of energy coils are going to be that sickly green color as the super duper accent. And then there's going to be a secondary accent of a plum purple, which will be on kind of weapon casings and maybe some designs or maybe like panels, but I'm not so certain about how that would work out because it would blend a bit with the black. So I'm not sure that's going to happen that way. But I've been doing some test like coloring using line drawings and Photoshop, doing some like test stuff.
I'm glad you're using that scheme because I really, really dug that army when you built it. It was so beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, I'm probably going to buy a Battle of Calth box set and just murder everyone in it for the bases. Some people are going to be getting stomped. The Dreadnought is going to be probably cored by somebody's laser gun of some kind. And the Marines are just going to be littered about bodies everywhere. I won't even discriminate. I'll paint them up in all different legions, all different traitor legions. Like, who are the traitor legions? Let's see.
Death Guard.
Death Guard.
Night Lords.
Iron.
Night Lords. Dark Angels, of course. Dark Angels.
Yeah, let's not forget those.
I set that up just so I could make that joke. Okay. So I'm trying to decide what my last 2 nights are going to be. There's going to be a 6-night army. I haven't decided whether I want to wait a long time and get 2 new Cerastus, like the Castigator and the Lancer, or go with GW ones for now and get additional Cerastus later. I'm still thinking about it. I'm not sure. I still have to buy the books, so it might be that I stick with the 4 for now and then worry about 30K later down the line. I think that's it for me. Who's left? Oh, the Cherry. The Cherry on our Hobby Progress Sunday. Snorri.
Thank you. I feel so honored being called a Cherry. Well, it's been...
Hey, Cherry, you're so fun, you blow... Sorry, go ahead. That's not even that song, is it?
No, I'm pretty sure...
Cherry, cherry baby, cherry.
I thought that was Sherry.
It's cherry. It's Snorri. Okay, Snorri.
Okay, so
I'll stop interrupting you. Go ahead.
thank you. Yeah, so I've been away for a while, and I haven't really been posting too much on Facebook, but I think I painted that, or pretty much finalized that one sponson for the Baneblade multi-kit. No, actually talked about that last time I was on. So, okay, the only progress I've done is that I actually built 2 Hellbrutes and have come like halfway through painting them too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice. I'm actually looking at them right now on Facebook.
Yeah.
They're pretty.
They look really cool,
Yeah.
dude.
They will look
You got that
so...
Death Guard feel coming.
Yeah, but they will also look so much better once I just give them a quick wash with that Vallejo brown wash that I'm
A
using.
layer of filth.
Yeah, right now all the bone white panels are looking really yellow and pale and just boring and flat. But as soon as I just put some wash on it, they will become a little bit darker, a little bit grimier, and also all the little nooks and crannies, all the little cuts and such, will just get that nice little dark brown effect into them. So it will look a lot better really fast.
Cool. Nice. Yeah, that first wash always brings it out. I can't wait to do it on my orcs here, because right now they, like I said, they look like a freaking football team. I can't wait for the wash to get on the first wash to get on these guys, so they look a little more grimy.
Yeah. And as I'm pretty sure I've said like 4 or 5 times before on this podcast, is I really like the Citadel stuff for a lot of things, but for their washes, if you want a strong effect, go for Citadel. If you want a little bit more toned down effect, so you can still see that you've done something, just not you haven't exactly drowned the thing in whatever wash color you're using, then I really like Vallejo for that.
Okay.
So,
I've never used Vallejo paints.
the only wash from Vallejo that I actually had to be really careful with is the one that I used on the Baneblade, the rust wash that they have.
Okay.
If you use a little bit too much, it becomes super strong effect. So you have to be really careful with that. You can't really just wash a panel all over with that rust wash. You have to just like pin wash it to get the proper effect, or else it's just going to look terrible.
Right, that's where you like pick out the areas that are raised with your brush.
Yeah,
Instead of just dousing it with wash.
exactly. What I did on the Baneblade was just every single place where 2 panels meet, where you have that slightly raised overlap, then just go over a little bit in that area, just where the 2 panels meet, just to get some accumulated rust that is just stuck there. Rivets and such, just a little bit around them, maybe draw a little bit of rust down so that you can get some streaking, but no way do you like dip the whole thing in and just let it dry.
Yeah.
So right.
Yeah, so
I'm looking at the picture right now. I'm looking at the rust, where you've placed the rust. It just looks so great.
yeah, the only thing that I'm a little bit disappointed with on that sponson was that I waited a little bit too long to clean up the wash. The rust wash, so I had to go over with airbrush. There we go, airbrush cleaner, and just try to soften it up. But unfortunately, I didn't just get the rust. I also got the previous
The undercoat.
the rust layer beneath. So you have a couple of places where you can see straight onto the sort of like clean paint. And that was just might just go over that just a little bit with some brown wash again.
Here's my tip for that. Spray it with clear coat first, and then do your wash. That way you can pull the color off without pulling the color underneath it off.
Yeah, but that's the problem. I didn't touch the color. I just took off one wash layer too many.
Yeah, just put it. That's what I do. After my first wash, I spray everything with clear coat.
Ah, okay, yeah. All you need to do really is just as soon as you apply the wash, especially with pin washing, just go over with another brush that you have just dipped in a little bit of water and just clean off the edges a little bit, because wash wants to create that really hard edge on the outside of the area that you washed. So you just soften it up a little bit by just adding a little bit of water just around that hard edge, and then it looks perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
that's my hobby tip for today. Hooray!
Yeah, I know our buddy Skip does a lot of pin washing. He, like his Bane blades and everything, it's all just like he goes through and does all these pin washes, and it is on. He does a lot of dry brushing too. Actually, come to think of it, but he does a lot of pin washing and stuff. I can't imagine that must be so much work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And all those
It looks
rivets.
great though. It's a great, the results speak for themselves.
Yeah. Most of the time, if you do it right, then it will really raise the level of a model with not too much effort.
Right.
And I decided to actually start doing the Death Guard again, try to build some Plague Marines and such, because I'm pretty sure we're going to get a Chaos Codex in not too long, so I'm just preparing
I hope
myself.
Cool.
So,
Yeah.
No, that'll be great. That'll be great. I'm looking forward to that.
oh yeah.
I'm looking forward to see what we have coming
Yeah,
up.
I'm really looking forward to the new Legion-specific flavors. Because it's, according to rumors, there's going to be some decent Legion-specific rules, and I really look forward to seeing them.
Cool. Have you been down to the club at all, Snarry, yet?
Not yet. Right now, I got other things that I need to get sorted first, but hopefully within the next 4 weeks or so, I should be able to go back to the club and start having some fun with the gentlemen over there.
Cool.
Nice. That's awesome, dude. Well, it's really great to hear from you again, man.
Yeah, I have to stop by every now and then and just say hi, because if I don't, then I'm just going to fall off the wagon and just not come back to the podcast ever, and that's not
well,
going to happen.
that's when I have to do an episode on Death Guard,
Oh yeah. There we go.
and then you'll be like, well, I gotta go now.
Exactly. That would be a good excuse, but something chaos, I'd show up for that. No problem. It doesn't have to be Death Guard.
All right, excellent. Does anybody have anything else before we move on?
No, I think
Not
I'm
really.
done.
All right, cool. So what's this episode about, Jason? Remind me.
Oh,
Okay.
Hey, speaking of what this episode is about, we talked to, or you guys actually, talked to James Stagg, and I did join the 1 hour a night Facebook group. And I
Yes.
didn't even know that he was the admin. So there you go.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw that
All
you
right.
posted on there. I
Yeah.
liked it immediately. It's like, all right, Snoda's here.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel it's good now.
Yeah, I had to do that to see if I can get some extra motivation to keep painting and hobbying.
Well, that'll do it. That'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It's working.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, it's an hour a night. And you know what? Sometimes an hour a night, though, turns into 2 or 3 or 4.
And then it's 4
But
a.m.
as long as you psych yourself into thinking it's just an hour, it's not that hard.
Yep. So yeah, you guys talked to James Stagg.
Yes.
That's right. Because he's been reading Beast Arises. Like he's reading them, all of them. So we decided to bring him on. He actually came here from Hawaii just to talk to us. I'm sure his family in New York had nothing to do with it.
Nah.
It was just a nice additional thing that he got to see them as well as talk to us.
And go have a mulberry pizza with me.
Oh God, the mulberry. It has all the meats.
Yes. And garlic, just to make sure that you don't have any vampire problems.
That's right. Lots of garlic, lots of meats. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, Jason? The pizza here in New York is pretty good, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I love pizza. That's something I enjoy. And being from Texas, the pizza there could be sketchy sometimes. Whereas here, I've got, I think I have one pizza place about a block from my house, 2 more that are about a quarter mile from my house, and after half a mile, I think that's probably about 6 or 7.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Texas is really well known for their barbecue.
Yeah.
And that's what you get there.
Oh yeah.
Now you said something barbecue place in Cohoes something. What did you say about that place?
Oh, yeah, the pig pit. All right,
The pig pit.
we don't endorse people because that's not part of our gig. However, if you happen to be in Cohoes, the pig pit does actually have Texas barbecue. They say they are, but that's not always true. You could say you're anything, but I went and ate there and was like, oh, this place is legit. This is something I would expect if I was living around the Bastrop area in Texas. For those of you from Texas, you'll know what I'm talking about. For everyone else, sorry.
Sounds a bit like what
Right,
you're
and
talking
what he
about
told me-
is just like Norwegian Indian restaurants. Most of them are not run by Indians, and yes, the food is technically Indian, but they probably have some more of their own flavoring things going on because it's probably not like proper authentic Indian. It's probably more like Sri Lankan or something. And no,
Yeah.
India and Sri Lanka are not the same place.
No, they are not. No, they are not.
So you can imagine my surprise when Jason said that, because usually you can't get these people to admit that there's proper Texas barbecue.
No, man, Pig Pit's legit. That place is legit. I mean, there have been a couple of other places like, and there's no. I hate to say this to my friends in the area, but there's no Mexican food in this area that's worth it. There really isn't, unless you're at my
Yeah.
house.
Yeah, it's cool. So we're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back and talk to James, and then after that, we're just gonna close out the show because again, we're gonna start our weekly format this month, and I hope you all enjoy it. Be sure to let us know what you think. Hey, Masters of the Forge listeners, are you looking to expand your Warhammer 40,000 gaming group?
Do you want to start a 40k club in your area?
Do you want the people you attract to be like-minded mofos?
Do you want to advertise your YouTube channel?
Or even attract more subscribers to your hobby blog or online community?
Then what better way than to advertise on the Masters of the Forge podcast?
All we ask of you is that you email us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com or message us on Facebook with a full text of your advertisement, including the region in which you live and any contact information people can use to get a hold of you.
We will have one of our many tech servitors read your advertisement on the air. We promise not to make fun of you.
Though we can't always predict the actions of our servitors, you really can't find good help these days.
No, you can't.
This is Rob Sanders, and you're listening to the Masters of the Forge, where the world of 40k comes to life on your tabletop.
Welcome back. We're here to talk about The Beast Arises, Predator Prey, as we promised. Again, we're going to go through probably this whole series in the next year and a half, on and off. This will be a part of the main show at all times. We'll never do this over at Freebooter Network. So today we have a special guest. We have James from the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page. Welcome, James.
Special written in quotations. Hey, everybody.
Yay! And Jason's here as usual.
Yay!
Yay! So when we last left our heroes, the Imperial Fists were destroyed on the planet of, what's the name of the planet again?
I don't remember.
On some dead planet somewhere.
Artamantua?
Artamantua. I never know how to stress that U.
It's basically
Alderaan.
Alderaan Part 2.
Artamantua.
Alderaan dead tour.
Yeah.
The quick check the files. We need a planet to blow up.
It's a box of Legos that's just floating through space.
Yeah, basically. Vangarich is making plans for political moves on Terra, as are pretty much everyone else. And
Those bureaucrats.
and the orcs are rampaging across the galaxy. Mainly the space near, very, very near Terra.
I don't know, with all the hints, I don't know if, they're not acting very orky, are they? They have all this, way high-tech, and they're
Yeah.
really organized and disciplined.
Yes, I have a weird theory about that. But maybe we'll talk a little bit more. Screw it, let's talk about it now. Here's the thing. They're very large, and they said, and somewhere towards the end, they were saying something about following the DNA trail of the orcs. So I'm wondering if they might be not of this time.
A little old one.
Not of this time, yeah. But we'll get into more of that later. I want to start off actually with the Mechanicus storyline. It makes sense that they chose Rob Sanders to write this novel because there's a lot to do with the Mechanicus in this book. And I'd like to start off there if you guys don't mind.
Sure, that works.
The most important thing to set this up is what the Mechanicus have been doing. They have not been above the board.
How family friendly is this show?
Right now, well,
I can beep stuff. It's really easy.
Total move.
yeah. Move is a good phrase. These guys have been watching worlds die from secret hidden bases, like the freaking, just like the Federation on Alien Worlds, just hidden behind sensory blinders, watching people die, but worse, not communicating that back to the Terran elite. Only the Mechanicus knows what's happening, and why is that?
So it's essentially voyeurism that is crossed with some sort of murder porn. It's just they're so horrible.
It gives them feelings of power to watch it. They are setting themselves up to survive the assault by the Greenskins, and they're looking for ways to harness the power that the Greenskins have themselves.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many people die as long as Mars ends up on top. Throughout the book, they keep making references to the third law of universal variance, the observer's paradox or observer's
paradox. They're very careful to use the word paradox.
Yeah, and they bring that up 3 or 4 times. It's like if you're watching something and you interrupt it, the outcome won't be natural. You'll have affected it. So just watch and don't do anything. It doesn't matter if you can help them, if you can't. Just stand there.
I love how Urquidex, who's one of the Magos, he's another Magos biologist, and between the 2 books we've read so far, it seems like the Magos biologists are the ones who are a lot more in tune with their humanity and have a lot more empathy for humanity.
They have 30% of a soul compared to 8%.
Yeah,
maybe.
Exactly. And this
all
guy,
his margins.
Yeah, this
all
guy actually
margins.
he mentions it's called a paradox for a reason, people. The reason it's a paradox is because there's no real right answer. But the Mechanicus always errs on the side of the data. Yeah. That's the thing. The data is paramount. Data is more important than anything. So I thought that was a very interesting thread.
As we go through the books, I don't know if I mentioned this in the intro or not. I have read up to the Echoes of the Long War, and the Mechanicus doesn't get any better. And this might actually be them at their least ish.
Fantastic.
There's you start to see why there's a definite disconnect between Terra and Mars. There at one time, there had to be a almost conquest of Mars, and as you go through the books, you will see that. You will definitely understand that.
So Urquidex comes off kind of as the man because he actually uses the observer's paradox to justify him letting Laurentis do his thing.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep, that was a cool point.
What's the name of the guy above Urquidex? I always forget his name.
Dickity Dick dude.
Yeah, that guy. Well, is it Phylax? I want to say.
Yeah. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, so when Laurentis is just totally wigging out and trying to show them that Slaughter is still alive on that ship, and Van Auken's like, stop him. He's like, oh, sorry, Observer's Paradox. You gotta let him do his thing.
Yeah, that was really cool.
I like how he managed to just stick it to him without that.
Now, the Mechanicus, there's one cool moment in here involving the Mechanicus, and that's when the twin frozen worlds die.
Oh yeah,
and are completely kind of destroyed by the orcs. There are 2 planets. One is like a Titan world, a world that builds Titans. Another is just a more of a general Forge world. And it's interesting to see how they interact with each other. Like, the Forge world that we are seeing through the viewpoint of has, like, a emissary from the other world that's described as a what is it like when you have a political emissary to another country, like
An ambassador.
An ambassador.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. It further explains the lack of hegemony between all the Forge worlds. Even if they share an orbit, there's not that much hegemony between them, and I thought that was interesting. And I thought it was really cool how there had been like 4 leaders in the past like hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it automatically transfers power.
Even once Phylax takes over and he's basically setting up the plan for them to leave the planet, one of his assistants mentions the fabricator locum of the other Forge world. I think it was Malleus Mundi, and he's like, "Oh yeah, she's too intractable. There's no way they'll retreat. She's dead already.
She can't get the quorum to agree with her decision to leave.
They're done."
Yeah, so she's like, "I'm gonna die. Sorry, I can't help you because we're all gonna die because I can't."
Yeah.
So, but he's able to get some of his some of his robots to evacuate, and I wonder if we'll see more of them later, maybe with some information.
I like how they have some parity between his explanation of it's not retreating, we're
preserving data.
We're keeping material out of the hands of the orcs, and then it comes back later with the Space Marines. It's the same thing. You have to fight tooth and nail to get them to take any steps back without it be considering
absolutely cowardice. And that's a common theme throughout. Like I'm not sure if it's a theme, but it's something that really hammers home the need to wipe out everything that you have on a world if you're invaded like this,
while managing the underlying warrior spirit that's through the entire Imperium.
Right. Exactly.
Whenever there's no such thing as a tactical retreat to most of these people. It's,
Well, yeah, it's like in the same way, like you were saying with the Mechanicus, it's would you rather our data fall in the hands of a savvy enemy? Or would you rather it be destroyed?
But on the other hand, like this is the Mechanicum planet. How dare we let aliens step foot here? We have to fight until we die.
Yep, exactly.
That too.
It was very interesting. I liked that. All the Mechanicum stuff was very interesting, even if it made me realize how much of a dick they are.
Yeah.
Another really interesting location is the ocean planet. What's that called again?
Undyne.
Yeah. The Undyne situation certainly is a situation. It shows a full orc invasion. I think that was kind of the literary point of Undyne, is to show what happens from beginning to end when an orc invasion occurs in this beast invasion.
Before we talk about Undyne characters, you guys might want to go get yourself a couple of shots, a few beers maybe. It's the most depressing part of the book.
Get a 40 to pour one out for your homies.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Poor Allegra.
Oh man,
that was a rough character to lose.
Well,
I mean, that her entire story arc was just, oh, this isn't going to get better, and then he gets the next time, it's like, it still isn't getting better. In fact, it's nosediving, and then at the very end, just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah,
it's good. This is like chapter 20 out of 21 because it's not going to happen.
It's
anymore.
never going to get better for them. And again, I thought this is good for this series. Like hitting the table. It's good for this series to have a scene like this because it shows that the authors involved in weaving the story are not afraid to just murder people in the story. So we can feel sufficiently unsure about every character that we meet, and it creates a tension. However, wow, that's brutal. It's brutal.
The whole Undyne story arc in this book is basically, like, I always imagine it as like a failed rocket launch. Like, it starts shooting up, and then all of a sudden it turns and just goes right back down.
And there's nothing you can do.
And it's really succinct, like, start to finish.
No, literally, it's like, well, I guess I'd better detonate the rocket with all the people on it so we don't kill people on the ground below. That's pretty much exactly That's a perfect example.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up, killing off the characters and whatnot, because I've been thinking about this as we were discussing the recording, and I have gone through farther in the series, and I've kind of come up with this idea that we have two types of characters. We have trunk characters and branch characters. Your trunk characters are going to be ones that they're part of the main storyline, or not the main storyline, but they keep showing up throughout. Then you have these branch characters who show up for a book, or maybe two, and something happens, either they're killed off or whatever. And farther along in the series, there was one character who I assumed was just a branch character and was going to be gone at the end of the book. And this character's now shown up in 3 books. And it's a character that's really interesting, but I'm not going to give that a spoiler out. But it's a much more interesting character. So whenever I went back and reread this and saw Allegra, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, she's gone at the end of this book. And now I remember why I like Rob Sanders, and I also want to punch him in the
Fantastic. Yeah, and, I was happy to see Laurentis come back, because I thought he was an interesting character regardless of his Mechanica status. And particularly because of his Mechanica status, because of his empathy. So I wonder what adding all those mechanisms to his body, if he survives the ordeal, what it'll do to him.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that as well, especially after reading the 2 Mechanicum books. I forget the guy's name, but the spoilers if you haven't read the Mechanicum books.
Or listen to quite a few of our episodes.
Yeah,
12 hours of episodes you missed that I edited.
Why would you? Do you want to make Jason cry?
Come on,
No, there's no crying. There's just anger.
Editing 12 hours of video only takes like 45 minutes, right? So the Skitari that just got turned into like a revenge servitor, like I love how they handled him. So I kind of hope something similar happens to Laurentis.
He just starts going mental. And the worst part is he knows all the parts of your body that feel pain.
Yeah. The biologists are the ones you don't want to piss off.
You don't want
right?
to piss those guys off. They have the most empathy, but they also know where to touch you to make it hurt bad.
So right. Back to Undyne. Allegra is. I don't know if Rob Sanders has a thing against non-traditional families. But, as a refresher for someone who may have read the book a little while ago, Allegra is at this point soon to be a single working mother.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
But not for long. She finds someone else, the Emperor.
The baby daddy is out of this picture because Hive Tiamat. No, the Tiamat was
Tiamat.
the boat.
Hive Tiamat. I'm pretty sure it was.
The hive that her baby daddy is in has sunk at this point, so she's a single mom now because she's pregnant. If we failed to mention that, and she just got a promotion, so she's holding her own, right? Oh, so depressing.
Oh, but you know what they say at the end, towards the end, she's like she had this. She says she had this fantasy of them, him leaving. He was very close to the end of his service, just leaving the service, being a guard, and she was going to be.
She was going to get fake ident papers because she's a pirate. Yeah.
And they would
disappear in the system. I think is what she said. Yeah, but she's of course fantasizing this while waiting for the order to press the exterminators.
Yeah,
she's sitting on the bomb and doing it. She's like, wow, this, because I reread that chapter yesterday and I was like, oh yeah. But that's horrible.
But she I love any window into the social structure of the Imperium. Yeah. It's fascinating to me. And she says at one point that she would have been censured for conduct unbecoming of an officer for getting pregnant.
But I think he was a.
She was an officer and he was enlisted. I mean, it was basically one of the issues that's still present in the military. Don't go messing with. Don't go fraternizing. Yeah.
Don't fraternize with a menial or whatever.
Yeah, I guess that would. Yeah.
Or whatever the phrase is.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Someone who's under your command, you cannot be doing something like that because then it could be considered non-consensual.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. No, that makes sense actually. I get that.
But she had just been recently promoted because whatever reason.
Everybody died.
She rescued the governor.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was her.
From his hive. The description of him is great too. He died 13 times on the way out of the hive.
Yeah, he did.
He had to have like the
Emergency cardiac
Yeah, the-
paddles and
the group of doctors with him and everything, and like he didn't want to leave because they couldn't take his pets, so they just shot the pets. So he
yeah,
could
they
leave.
just blew him away. Yeah, not just the pets, but a bunch of the people too.
Yeah, his
They
family
blew-
members were dying.
Jeez.
Was it inbred couriers? I think was the
Yeah.
actual term.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. And he sounds like he's an old lawnmower. You know, it's just like, oh, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, he's back. It's all right. We can keep walking now.
Do you watch ever see the show Home Movies? TV show Home Movies?
Uh-uh.
Oh, okay. So there's an episode where they're like talking to the grandfather and he dies like 5 or 6 times. They just have the paddles right next to him. They shock him and then keep talking, and then he flatlines. They shock him and keep talking.
Jesus.
Sounds like something out of The Simpsons, like the early Simpsons before they became.
But the governor, he did show his good side, though. He
Yeah.
specifically ordered the troops that were with him to let the people onto the helicopter. Like that was just so they
smidgen,
could get off the
That was
the
really
hive.
cool.
That was like a little
Yeah,
bit
you know,
they
it
showed
just
him.
it just shows people are not one dimensional. It's nice to have non one dimensional
Yeah.
characters. It helps to let you care about what happens to them. You know,
Yeah.
and you know it. When you look at the psychology of it, who knows what he was in his head? He's like, I am a great leader. I must protect my people. And you know,
Or he needs new
I am
pets.
awesome because I
Yeah.
did this. You know, one of those things.
Might need more people to carry me later.
Yeah,
I might need more ablative wounds
There we
surrounding me.
there we go. But all just a bunch of guard now.
Yeah, because the whole planet is just ocean. They just have, like, I loved. Perfect example of Rob Sanders' poetic license. He used the word Shantapalegos instead of
Really?
Archipelagos.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Shantapalegos.
Oh, yeah, I didn't
I
know
laughed
that.
out loud in the
That's
airplane
great.
when I read that.
That is awesome. Yeah, because that is a very interesting like all the little islands and not even just islands. They're pontoon like towns.
I
and
kept
cities.
picturing Waterworld with Kevin
Yeah.
Costner while I was reading.
Actually,
Yeah,
yeah,
those
that's
chapters.
the same thing I had every time when they would talk about this world. It's just like, okay, this kind of chemical sea, and there's water. Where it's just like, oh, please don't let Kevin Costner.
And
Yeah.
it's full of
Please don't.
megafauna, like
Megafauna,
the
yeah.
giant snakes.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
yes.
Yeah, the giant snakes and
it
Allegra was like, everybody needs to eat this slop before we go on
Yep.
the mission. And they're like, it's stupid. I'm not eating. Eat the slop. One guy eats the slop and he gets eaten by the snakes who don't like the slop.
Yeah, the helicondra were the snakes, and they were eating the toonweed. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And like it specifically said when the helicondra grabs the guy that didn't eat it off the boat, she remarks to the other guy like, yeah, he was the one smirking that said I wasn't gonna eat it.
Shows him.
Yeah.
Shows him.
That talking about the helicondra remind me of the scene, like, because they've got their elite group of guard, right? So they're about to go through and they're trying to hide from the orcs and the gangers alike. So their las carbines are silenced with
Suppressed.
quotation marks.
Suppressed.
So
yeah.
they were firing the las beams in a non-visible spectrum, right? So it
Yeah.
wasn't like red laser beams. It was just like you point and you pull the trigger and,
And
something
somebody's
burns.
brain farm.
The second I read that, all I could picture was comic book guy from The Simpsons. Like this scene where they have the space movie where it's not making any noises when they're shooting at each other. Because the last carbines, you shouldn't be able to see it, right?
You shouldn't be able to see
I
it
could just
or
picture
hear it,
him
yeah.
like best movie ever.
Yeah, exactly. you should hear like a buzz coming from the
Yeah,
gun. That's
just like a
about
little
it.
bit of like condensation from the heat. and
Maybe the
everything.
pop of someone's head
just
exploding
comic
from
book guy.
rapidly boiling instantaneously. Yeah. Anyways, that sounds like my kind of party. I don't know about you guys. That was pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, and the tactics were fantastic. She chose to go in that vector because she knew that the orcs would be thin from all the helicondra eating the
Yes,
orcs,
yeah.
and she was able to get in there.
Oh, and the blubber dogs.
Poor blubber dogs.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, I
geez,
forgot about
Why
that.
are there so many snakes here? All right, let's change our story. We've killed 3 planets so far. Let's move on.
The day is young.
The day is young.
Yeah.
Like, one last thing, Allegra makes the lieutenant explain the effects of the virus bomb, like, out loud with everybody sitting around in the dark rust water room. Like, how dank can you get, man?
Speaking of more worlds to blow up, let's talk about the Fists Exemplar.
All right.
Fists Exemplar. This is a Second Founding Space Marines chapter, as we find out throughout the book. We're going to talk more about Second Founding Space Marine chapters in an episode or two. But
focusing on the Flesh Tearers, of course.
It was actually
Nova
Marines, but I think we're gonna look at the Fifth Exemplar and others as well, because
there are quite a few Second Founding.
There's quite a few, and they're very interesting. And
make sure you read Death of Integrity. Then that book was awesome.
Actually, yeah, that's what we did.
It was so good.
Did I read it? No, you read it.
Yeah, I read it. It was we talked about in the Space Hulk episode.
Oh, we did. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I've actually read that stupid book 3 times.
The Nova Marines are half of it. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what gave us the idea to do the episode. Maybe I should try to pop that in and read it.
The thing I didn't read, it's the Nova Marines and the Blood Drinkers, and I did not care about. I actually remember looking at the Blood Drinkers part, going.
The Nova Marines part was good, but the Blood Drinkers part of that book was what made the ending fantastic.
Yeah, that made the ending.
If you like the whole
spoilers on Death of Integrity again. Sorry.
If you like the Blood Angels storyline with the other other successor chapters.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think that'll be a fun episode. Fifth Exemplar. We're on the world of
Idolica.
Excuse me. Thank you. Idolica. My notes are a mess. Thank goodness James and Jason are here.
Well, I wanted to be prepared. Masters of the Forge.
Right?
And I'm trying not to drop spoilers on every book. I've got shades now.
You can't just slapdash it like on the independent characters.
Oh! Shots fired! So they...
Wow.
Their Fortress Monastery is a crashed... Starfort, which is so pretty badass. The Starfort got too close to the sun when it had an active phase or something, and it crashed here and will never lift off again.
Yeah.
And so they are fighting orcs in the middle of the night, and the orcs overrun their ranged defenses, and they're fighting on the ramparts pretty much tooth and nail.
Was this the world that had the really strange cycles of...
It's like a 24-hour, or sorry, like a 48-hour day.
Okay.
So they have long periods of night and long periods of day.
They're so close to the star that the daylight just burns anything organic.
Right. That's what was happening. Because they're waiting for the sun at one point.
It's a promethium mine as well.
This had a real...
Why not?
Because
let's make
that's
it even
not
more
dangerous.
fun. Yeah.
It had a real Pitch Black, the movie Pitch Black with Vin Diesel. Mm-hmm. It had a real feel like that. Like they're just dreading the nighttime coming back.
Mm-hmm. So they're interesting. There's a second founding chapter because their chapter master was one of the first captains to advise Dorn on the wisdom of the Codex Astartes. Mm-hmm. And so at first that chapter master had gained, some enmity with Dorn, but once Dorn came around, he realized what good counsel it was and decided, well, this individual needs to be the first Space Marine to form a new chapter. And that's how the Fifth Exemplar were formed.
I think he said they exemplified the new way.
The new order, yeah.
They became the Fifth Exemplar.
And he conglomerated a lot of the more liberally minded, liberal as in...
For a Space Marine.
Those who are geared towards change in the new way into this chapter, and they were kind of they were used as the kind of trainers almost for the rest of the new chapters. Like they helped build all the other new Fists chapters.
His name's Dantalion.
Dantalion, thank you. I'm not sure what we can talk about these. I mean, obviously they're Space Marines, so there's a lot of badass scenes of Space Marines Space Marining all over the orcs. At one point, there's a pretty ingenious scheme raised by the captain turned chapter master. He doesn't realize it yet at this point, but
well, those are the best Battlefield promotions.
Yeah, this book is full of those kind of promotions.
This whole series is full of those types of promotions.
You guys want to talk about their plan?
This was to
Fire the engines of the
Yeah.
Alcazar asteroid.
Duh, it's a spaceship, right?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was a lot
Tech
of
Marine's
fun.
like, she'll never take off.
That's okay. That's not what we need her for.
We don't need her to do that.
And he had such an action one-liner too. He over the comm he orders everybody to engage their mag boots, and the kind of smarmy guy from the honor guard Zerberian, I think his name is. He's like, why are we doing that? And he like finishes killing the orc he's killing because we're going for a ride.
Because we're going for a ride. I'm gonna personally send Rob Sanders an email with like a funny meme face. Like, what are you even thinking? That was pretty great though. So yeah, that's where we find out that about the planet's unique kind of qualities, because they don't really explain it early on.
Yeah.
But all he's doing is buying time for the dawn, and when the dawn comes, the orcs are charging up, like the ship crashes down, the orcs start charging up, and he's like, everybody save your ammo. I'm like, what do you mean save your ammo?
Yeah.
Shoot the orcs! And the sun comes and basically burns the orcs away. And they just kind of casually walk back into the Star Fort. What I thought was interesting was...
There need to be a catchphrase at the end of that as they're walking back.
No, there didn't need to be, because they turned around and walked slowly away from the burning sun. The biggest explosion there can be. So, duh, that's how that works. You don't give dialogue while walking slowly away from an explosion.
As you mentioned earlier, it's a Promethean
Well, you have to have
line.
someone pull out
You
have to have someone pull out a cigar though, and maybe knock off the ash and keep walking.
No, the scene the cool way they described it was, though, as they were walking in, all the orc blood and viscera was burning off their armor.
Yeah.
How awesome is that? That is so cool.
Well, I haven't seen any pictures of their actual models or not, but it kept describing them. Their plate is just like bare, like it looked like just
No
charcoal.
paint, because there's no reason to have
Just
paint.
constantly burn off.
Because it's constantly being burned off by your own star.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, actually, because there are other chapters who do interesting things with their, armor. Like, there's another Fist chapter that every time there's damage, they would, notate where and when. It's like the worst types of footnotes ever.
It's one of the coolest parts about the chapters. They all have their little thing. Like we were talking about the Nova Marines, and they're just tattooed.
Oh, yeah.
Their entire
Tattoos are
bodies
everywhere.
tattooed.
Yeah.
Right.
Tattoo servitor. I mean, that is my favorite part of... Sorry, we're back on Death of Integrity. I'm going to apologize again for that. Yeah, that tattoo servitor, every time I read that part, I was like, this guy's awesome. Even though he's like only in there for like a page, maybe two, but still the idea that this guy's still doing that, it's...
Right. Oh, and what was it? The one chapter we did back. Crap! What's it called?
Mantis Warrior? What are we looking for here? We've done.
They're the ones that expose lies.
Not the Mentors. Oh God, it's the brother. Not. It was in the Malice episode.
Yeah, Sons of Malice.
Was it Sons of Malice? Yeah.
No, but there's the other guys.
They're a chaos band. Basically, what happened was every time someone lied, they knew that they're like lie detectors.
Really?
Yeah, and so
And
it
all they
drives
do
them
is
all
they do
mad.
is sit there and write down the lies of the universe.
Naturally, Zinch worshippers.
They know all the lies of the universe. They're out of their cotton picking mind. It's great. Anyways,
that is definitely it's staying in the episode, folks.
Anyways, they're waiting for dawn, and they know that they're gonna die. And all of a sudden, there's on the door, basically. And it turns out they have some guests. You want to talk about the guests? We meet them earlier in the book.
I don't know. We should really only talk about Space Marines that have their own codex.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Ah! So many shots fired! So many shots fired! Yeah, the Black Templars are there, and they are pissed off because they just got stood up. They just got stood up by the the Imperial Navy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and not even
Speaking of worlds that are just destroyed,
Not
moving
even-
on to another one.
not even stood up. Like I don't know.
Straight up cast and shade.
Like the Imperial Navy, they got out, they got their steak and lobster, they had their few drinks, and now that it's time for the main event, they're going home kind of thing.
They pieced out because Well, we'll talk about because in a little bit. But yeah, they peace out because they get orders to regroup in another system. And they can't... Most of them can't decide between whether to follow the orders of the Admiral, the High Admiral, Lord High Admiral, or follow the orders of a Black Templar.
The Marshal.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, well... Don't be surprised if you see me on the bridge of your ship someday, because
we'll be back.
And as you were explaining before, James, he has to be convinced by his Castellan to break off the attack on the orc world. He's very concerned about seeming cowardly.
Yeah, I mean they were mid charge when one of the servitors pops up like the Navy ships aren't following us.
Uh-huh.
They were on their way to the rock, and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So yes, they have to have a conversation like on their way there.
Yep, and then when the Black Templars go to the Fifth Exemplar world, he has to have that same conversation with the new chapter master, because Space Marines don't want to give up, but the thing is, you need to be applied where you're useful. If you're not being useful, you're just dead. You're just dead flesh floating in space.
I feel even worse for Second Captain Thane from the Exemplars.
Thane, yep, that's him.
For the Black Templars, they just had to cut off an attack. For Thane, he has to leave his chapter homeworld and the fortress gifted to his chapter by Dorn.
Right?
That is brutal.
It's almost like you're setting... It's almost as if the authors are setting this chapter up for a rebirth sometime in the future.
Mm-hmm. What I found interesting...
I think Adam's going to explode.
I'm just saying, I think it's a little bit of... I don't know if it's foreshadowing, but I think they are setting them up for a chrysalis moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really enjoyed, there's one scene that's like towards the end of the book where the new chapter master is basically hanging out in this chapel that he used to, that was his favorite chapel.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he has
relics of Dorn.
relic. There's a specific relic that he loved, that he adored, and it's like fallen over because of the movement of the ship. And there's just a moment where he talks about that. I remember reading that and thinking that this was really interesting. It gave a lot of depth to that, character.
It was a stained glass of Dorn.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be the moment whenever he had decided that, yes, we're going to go ahead and go with the Codex. That this is...
That's integral to the Exemplars in specific, because that's... Without that moment, they would not exist.
Yeah.
Plus, earlier in the book, it had specifically mentioned that the crazier, more crusady ones... at the time of the second founding had gone to the Black Templar.
Yeah.
And now you have a Black Templar telling a Fifth Exemplar that we have to fight tactically and we have to run away.
He makes the decision pretty quickly. Like, he's like, no, we can't leave. He's like, dude, we gotta leave. Look who you're talking to. And
we gotta get out of here. And you can
see it going, and it like changes almost instantaneously. So, another unsavvy reader might think of that as bad writing, but you can see it in his head going, no, wait a minute. Yeah, we gotta leave.
Yeah,
what am I doing?
Moment of clarity, right?
We gotta go. A Black Templar is telling me to retreat. Let's leave right now.
I really hope they have Bohemond in the Black Templar Marshal in the later books, because his description, I don't know if you remember it or not, but he's missing an eye.
Yeah.
And they talk about how he lost the eye to an orc weird boy.
Yes.
The exact, they were talking about the fight, right? And just this line from the book says, Bohemond had strode through the strange flame using his hatred of the thing as a compass. When he was fighting it, it lit him on fire. Yeah.
He beat him to death with his fist.
Completely on fire, just blinded, walking through the fire.
Yes, that was one of my notes. He beat an orc weird boy to death while on fire with his bare fist.
Hatred as a compass.
So good. So good. Jason's looking at the levels like, Jesus Christ.
Don't listen to this on a motorcycle with helmet on.
No, that would be a bad idea.
I will try and compress it and clean it up, everyone. Don't worry.
Oh, all right. So they make off, and that's the last we see of them until probably a later book.
The next book.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of the Black Templars, and
Bohemond's the man. I know I talk shit about the Black Templars, but he's just so cool.
Well, it's, there's so many jokes you can drop at the Black Templars' expense.
Yeah.
So we've killed 1, 2, counting Arteman Shore, we've killed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planets so far.
Yeah.
I think that's enough planets to kill. I think let's move on to the reason why the Imperial fleet disengaged. And we're going to talk about the politics on Terra.
Yes.
The only planet that ought to be destroyed in this conflict.
Yeah, the whole political system on Terra in this entire series is horrible.
It's starting to break down.
It's beyond deadlock. It's beyond gridlock. It's one of those things where they should all be marched outside and shot.
Yeah, that's a thing that should happen, right? We should kill them all.
But
what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
The nonsense that's happening on Terra gave us an excuse to meet my favorite character in the series so far.
Yeah?
Isad Wire, the Beast.
Oh, Wire,
yeah.
He's cruel.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
so good.
If it weren't for Terra, we would have never had him in this book.
Yeah.
He's the reason for this whole series, by the way.
Nice.
Not a spoiler, just my personal feeling.
Yeah, that's a good belief. I like that because he is really probably one of the more interesting characters. He might be the only interesting character on the... I mean, not interesting, but he's the one I would want to die the least.
Interesting spelled with the word violent.
He's so to start it off, it's what's his name? Venan. No, not Venan. What's his name? Venan.
The assassin.
Assassin.
Vangarich.
Vangarich. Thank you. Not Venan. Vangarich. His plan was to kind of coax the rest of the council to withdraw all the fleets that are spread around all over the galaxy and bring them closer to Terra to defend Terra from the orcs, to stop them in their path. But the other like the Lord High Admiral and the Ecclesiarch are all just concerned about their own problems. Do you guys want to talk a little bit more about some of the politics? Like I know that I remember that the Inquisition in particular told him to stay out of it, that he's not helping. It is their purview, not his, to fix the situation, and he's causing more trouble than he's helping. I'm not sure.
You see the Inquisition through Wynand setting things up in the third book quite a bit more. And this she seems almost petulant, like this is my job, leave us alone. Whereas Vangarich seems to be doing something concrete, and he actually even points out to her a little later in the book, like if you interfere and this is just a power grab for the Inquisition, like we're gonna do what we do to you as well.
We do what we do best. Yeah.
Well, in case you forgot, Vangarich is the Grandmaster of the Officio Assassinorum.
Oh, this is the quote. This is the quote that I picked out. The Emperor never wanted me to trust you. He never wanted you to trust me. Like, the whole point of it is maybe not extreme deadlock like there is now, but the point is that the checks and balances of the Imperium aren't the same as the ones we have. They are separate entities at odds with one another, and that keeps them honest in a way.
You
Everybody's
can't have one man controlling everything.
No, you can't, and that's probably it's probably a good thing, but it does create this derision and it does create deadlock, and this is what we're dealing with now. So Vangarich poisons the what's his name? Do you have his name there?
The Ecclesiarch.
The Ecclesiarch.
Is it Grand Provost Zek? Is that him or no?
Whatever his name is, he's the Ecclesiarch. He poisons him and says, "Yeah, you're poisoned. I'll give you the antidote if you recall the ships."
I liked that scene quite a bit because it was just...
and just how grimy they are too, right?
Yeah.
And when he's on his way in, he's like, he points to one of like the younger
Oh
girls.
yeah,
like,
the Sheriff of Nottingham moment.
Yeah, you will attend my prayers this evening and send her in the morning.
Yeah. That was so great.
Completely sleazy. You have no... You're just like, let him die.
Yeah.
It's cool.
He is a sleaze, and yeah, he does convince the Lord Admiral to recall the ships, but he does so in the guise of a new Holy Crusade instead of redeploying them. He recalls them, but does not redeploy them to the systems that need the ships. And so Vangrich is like, give him half the cure. He did half the job.
It was a half measure. So, Mesring was the guy's name.
Mesring, yeah.
I liked that solution. It's like, okay,
half measure, so half the antidote.
Vangrich is awesome, and like you said before we started recording, I do think that there's a little bit more going on with the Inquisition. I don't think they're as clueless and as kind of at fault as Vangrich is making them out to be. I think there is a great deal he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And that's the Inquisition's job. So...
and this won't be a surprise, but there's a lot of politics that shows up farther along, just within the Inquisition. But I mean, as we see in the 40K universe, there's so much politics there with, what is it, Ordos who are actually at war with each other almost.
Yeah, especially with, I forget what book it was, but within the I think it actually might have been a Dark Heresy something. But there's a subsect of the Inquisition that records secret knowledge, and then there's a subsect of the Inquisition that specifically deletes everything that other one records.
Yeah.
Like
it's really funny. Yeah. And then you have Ordos that just disappear. Was it the Ordos Chronos?
They're gone. They're not there.
Yeah.
And it's funny in this.
It's like a Doctor Who moment. It's like, I'm going to go through and erase everything that I was here, or maybe I'd never existed in the first place.
Yeah. One of the things that they bring up is the Ordo Officio or the Officio or something. It's like the Department of Redundancy Department. I meant to look that up because I want to look it up after the show because I want to see what that's all about. Because I love it. It makes sense that the Imperium should have a Department of Redundancy Department. That sounds really great.
I really like how you get because there aren't very many Black Library novels where you get a good view into the working of the Imperium. It's usually just the Imperial Guard or the Inquisition, but they had a part in the beginning of this novel where they really set out the size of it. I wrote down the quote from the book, but they were talking about how they're not letting the normal citizens know what's going on right now because the, quote, loss of life calculated by the billion puts unnecessary strain on the mind of the common imperial citizen.
Yeah.
Like, these people, they're working with a whole galaxy, so even if 1 billion people die, that's nothing to them, right?
Yeah,
right.
That's actually a rounding error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not even a
billion is within the margin of error.
Yeah.
And that's not even a rounding error to like the hundreds. That might be the thousands or 10,000s, if not more.
Right.
And the thing is that if in the first 2 chapters, we're trying to go through and look at subjects, but in the first 2 chapters they actually talk about how as the orcs are coming through the galaxy, the people are going nuts,
Yeah.
And
because of the telepathic projection.
Yeah, and so people are going crazy, and that's really illustrating what we were talking about in that, we don't tell the Imperial people or the Imperial citizens because it will drive them nuts. And we see that, in the first 2 chapters.
Yeah, you can like a lot of the worlds were having like riots, and
Yeah.
you could really see how like chaos could spread as well. Like they're so far from the center of the Imperium that like some orcs showed up. Like let's all paint ourselves green. We're part of this cult now.
Part of the exactly.
Crazy.
There's some
Diggers.
Diggers.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, a lot of them. They decided, well, if you can't beat them,
Join them.
yeah. So I towards the end we get the impression that. Not that we didn't realize this already, but we actually see a failed training exercise with Wire in assassinating one of the officials. So they're
Lansing himself.
Yeah, of Lord Admiral Lansing. Yeah. So I'm wondering, wondering how far he'll go. I know some of us are savvy in our knowledge of the lore, so we do kind of know what's going to happen. But it'll be interesting to see it unfold. I think this is one of those situations where, yes, it's a major event that happened in the history, but I think actually seeing it happen will be very interesting.
Yeah, the way that that exercise was portrayed was really interesting. At the very last second, Lansing just spews out some babble, and Vanguard hears. He's like, "What does that mean?"
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, the official logistorm or whatever it is. Like they've calculated there's a small chance that they
There'll
have
be
some
a
kind of
contingency
they have some
plan.
kind of contingency plan, and that's just a placeholder to represent that.
Represent the contingency plan that they know where the Vanus Temple is, or the not Vanus Temple.
Mount Vengeance.
Mount Vengeance,
I think it was.
the main temple there. They know where it is, and that's him calling an orbital strike on the officio.
Yeah. If you reread anything in this book, reread that exercise. Is that Beast Cruel is just so amazing. Because I keep coming back to these specific quotes, but it's just stuff that stuck out when I read it the second time. He's trying to decide how to kill Lansing when he's on top of him.
Do I break his neck?
He's like, do I punch him in the neck? Do I punch him in the chest? But he said, no, I'm going to punch him in the face. And then
mash his
like,
brains
quote,
against the...
He would smash through the High Lord's fat skull and mash the ambitions of a dangerous mind into the deck. Like,
he's not
so
just a killing machine. He has bought into the entire concept of the Officio SS Norm being a legitimate and important piece of the Imperium.
Just the brutality of it.
Oh, yeah.
He throws away a monomolecular sword on the way to get to Lansing.
He doesn't need it.
And just cracks his knuckles. Like, I just punch you to death. That's what I do.
Yeah. That's so cool. So there are some like I was saying before, there are a few things that I kind of took away from this as being more interesting from my perspective. I loved the scene of Urquidex examining the orc cadaver because it solidifies a lot of theories.
Viridi Giganticus.
It solidifies a lot of theories that are there about orcs that a lot of us have wondered if they're apocryphal or just plain wrong or retconned. Though they are no longer retconned. Anything that's in the 3rd edition Orc Codex is basically reiterated here in that one chapter. He says that the orc knowledge of technology is not a function of the frontal lobe, which comes from learning and understanding. It comes from a primordial part of their brain that is ancient in development. So proving that orcs are built, are engineered with the knowledge of technology and born with it.
Yeah.
So there's that was confirmed. Another thing that was confirmed was Orc Shuda did not work
When it wasn't in his hand.
when it was not in his hand. He put it in the orc's hand, hooked up a power cable to it, and it worked. And he's like in the officious Mechanicus guy, what's his name, Van Alken or whatever, said, turn it off. He's like, okay. And Urquidex cuts his hand off, and it stops.
It postulates it might be like a psionic field.
A psionic field. They definitely detect a field of some kind, and it's it's decreased since the orcs left slowly. So it's all these corpses. There are these dying orcs, slowly dying, and their whatever field or power they have is fading away because they're dying. So it obviously persists unto death. You can piece orcs back together. I assume that orc was
super glue
could have been put back together had there been a dock there.
Yeah.
So that was both of those things. The nature of orcs psychically in tune with their technology, or in tune with anything really, and orc, like the origin of orc technology is solidified in this book, and I hope to see more information in regards to that as the series progresses. And I sure hope, and maybe it'll end with a new Orc Codex.
Yeah.
Well, the hardcover is no longer on the website.
Yeah.
And the soft cover is email me when when back in stock.
I wonder, it would be really cool if Forge World, after kind of completing the story, or maybe even before completing the story of the Heresy, both Black Library and Forge World, but Forge World in particular, started adding
Orcs?
Well, adding books, like for any kind of additional information, like Ulanor, you could have an Ulanor book that has all the stuff you can do to run the orcs of Ulanor or of that time period.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. Actually, there are a lot of hobbyists on a couple of forums that I follow that are starting to build Ulanor orcs. They're using the orcs from the fantasy.
Yeah, they're
line.
much bigger.
Oh yeah, they're much bigger, and actually,
and these guys are much bigger too, which is kind of my time travel thing. I'm like, wonder how long these jerks have been stuck in the warp.
Yeah, you'd almost have to just make a whole army out of just war boss stats to represent these
essentially.
guys.
Like this is some kind of counterattack for Ulanor. What do you guys think? Yeah, maybe.
Maybe
They've been lost in time for so long. They're like, all right, counterattack against the Umis, and it's like, what time is it? I don't know. It doesn't matter. We're orcs.
1,000 years later.
There's a character in book 4 that will. God, I don't want to spoil it.
Don't spoil it. Don't worry about it.
But it's an interesting character that is an orc character that is going to.
Oh, we get orc characters. Ooh, excited!
It's going to really kind of turn your head on orcs.
Cool. No, I'm looking forward to that because
it was so much so that I actually emailed you and said, "Have you read this book yet?" And you're like, "No," and I was like, "Really? Come on, man."
It's just that I don't feel like taking notes.
Although there is one more new character for fodder in this second book. In the beginning, they mention I forget who it is was talking about it, but says the orcs are larger even than the ones we fought against when we fought the archfiend of Urswine. Just like the guy's name Urswine, like shout out to the old pig orcs, right?
I'd forgotten about that. I remember that now, but I'd forgotten about him.
So, do you guys have any other points you wanted to bring about the book, or anything?
It's not anything major, but since we're all currently in upstate New York, I wanted to mention that.
Thanks for flying all the way from Hawaii.
This is the only reason I came to New York.
For 2.5 hours in my game room.
There was so the coming of the orcs is causing all the mutinies, right? And the revolts. One of the mutinies was on a planet or in a city named Syracuse with a Z. I saw that hey. Anybody that isn't familiar with upstate New York, we have a city called Syracuse. Right?
You had to drive through it to get here.
If we had any Greek listeners, maybe.
Fantastic.
I laughed at that.
I'm not sure what kind of on your tabletop we're gonna do for this one, but I'm sure it'll be very exciting and forthcoming after this.
It's just a
and
single.
Very orky.
It's just a single Averser assassin with no weapons and double stats fighting against Imperial Guard. That's the game I'll play.
I'd play that game. Yeah.
But I guess Beast Cruel's not even an Averser because they specifically mention when they.
We forgot about that part.
They're just in cryostasis, just at the meeting.
But he has to be at the meeting. Why does he have to be at the meeting? He's in cryostasis. I thought that was hilarious. What's his name? Vangrich goes to Mars and talks to his assassins that are kind of entrenched in the Mechanicus as spies, and they come to a meeting, and one of the people that comes to the meeting is the freaking Eversor assassin in cryostasis.
They just wheel him up in a tube.
What is that? That was the best. Rob Sanders, you are crazy.
It's like the Hannibal Lecter moment. They just kind of bring him into a cart, push him forward, and he just stares.
Doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really funny. That was a great part. Oh my god. But yeah, this was a good book. I'm excited to continue to read it. And
although if any of you have developed as fans of Draken Vangrich so far, The third book, maybe not so great for him. But if you like the Inquisition, Inquisitor Wienand, or we can't decide how to pronounce her name.
Wienand.
Yeah,
Wienand,
she gets her stuff together. So
Good. Yeah. No, I think it'll be fun. So why don't we take a break and we'll be right back.
Interested in the offbeat world of 40K? Is your bits box full of 20-year-old space elves? Have you ever searched for something out of production 40K on eBay? Well, hold on to your zotes and head over to Corsair Radio. It covers the full scope of the hobby, homebrew rules, fluff, campaigns, oddball models, and more. From Terra to the Eye of Terror, visit us at corsairradio.blogspot.com. That's corsairradio.blogspot.com. Are you looking for a good hobby blog? Are you in need of a tutorial? Maybe you just want some inspiration to help you get started. Well, look no further than the 40K Hobbyist. Drew is a 40K hobby veteran with more than a decade of GW hobby experience under his belt. Follow one man's journey through the hobby as he dabbles in new experiences such as Forge World Titans, building terrain tables, starting new Space Marine chapters, and much, much more. Stop in for modeling tips, tutorials, bits theory discussions, and just to see some darn cool models. If you have any questions, you can always email him, leave a comment on his blog, or reach him through Facebook. He's always willing to do whatever he can to help expand the hobby and make you feel the best painter that you can be. Stop in and check out the 40K Hobbyist at 40khobbyist.blogspot.com. That's 40khobbyist.blogspot.com, or find him on Facebook.
Well, that'll do it. Again, short episode from now on. All short episodes. We're going to try and keep this succinct. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We wouldn't be here without the listeners. Be sure to check us out on Freebooter Network. Where else can they check us out, fellas?
I think we have a blog still. I'm paying for that,
yes,
right?
You're still paying for that. Thanks, Snorri.
Twitter also. I've come back to Twitter for my once a year tweet where I complain about how much I hate Twitter.
Excellent.
And I think we have a Facebook page.
Yes, we do have a Facebook page, and that's where we do most of our interactions. So if you want to interact with us, please check that out. But I guess
If there's anything you're wondering, then just send us a message. Even I reply to those, even though I'm not on the podcast on a weekly basis.
So does Jason, and I do as well. So we're all very excited to hear from all of you. So I guess we'll see you guys next Sunday. But until then, you both
Play the game.
I was gonna have both of you do it, but we could just not. That's fine. Nobody has to say anything.
Well, we can always do it.
Yeah.
Jason can always resync it
There you
afterwards.
go.
So
Yeah.
if we just say,
How about this?
play
3, 2,
2, 1, play the game the way you want to.
Boom, nailed it.
I
I'm gonna
think that
steal
was pretty
nail
much-
it. I'm gonna steal nailed it from the It Will Not Die podcast. I'm sure they won't mind, right?
No, they won't mind at all, I'm sure.
Cool.
Okie dokie. This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com. The music used in this podcast was made by Parad of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.